The poor little girl walked onto the stage, not knowing that the millionaire judge was her father, who abandoned her when she was a baby. When she sang that special song, his heart stopped. This is a story about second chances, forgiveness, and the transformative power of music. If you believe in happy endings and the strength of family love, you're in the right place. Before we begin, leave a comment below saying where you're watching from and whether you believe it's never too late to fix our mistakes. And if this story touches your heart like it touched mine, don't forget to like, so more people can find this message of hope. Now get ready, because this journey will move you from beginning to end. The rain fell hard on the cracked sidewalk in downtown Chicago. Each drop echoed like a drumbeat against the cardboard box that Emma Johnson, 7 years old, used as her makeshift stage. Her little voice rose above the sound of rushing vehicles and hurried footsteps, pure and overwhelming as it floated through the gray afternoon air. "You are my sunshine, my only sunshine," she sang, her small hands gripping a worn guitar almost as big as she was. The instrument had belonged to her mother once, when Katherine Johnson still had dreams of her own. Passers-by threw coins into the worn baseball cap at Emma's feet, some out of pity, others genuinely moved by the raw talent emanating from such a small body. But Emma didn't sing for their sympathy. Every note, every carefully chosen word was sung for one reason: the stack of medical bills growing thicker every day on the kitchen table. "Please don't take my sunshine away," she continued, her voice breaking slightly as exhaustion set in. She'd been there since dawn, and the autumn chill seeped through her thin jacket. But she couldn't stop. Not when Mom needed her medicines. Not when the doctors kept using words like urgent and immediate treatment required. A well-dressed woman stopped, tears streaming down her cheeks as she listened. "Sweetheart, how old are you?" she asked gently, placing a $100 bill in the cap. "7, Mom," Emma replied, offering a smile that seemed too wise for her years. "My mom is very sick, and the doctors say she needs an operation. I'm going to sing until I have enough money to make her better." The woman's heart shattered. "What's your name, honey?" "Emma Johnson. And I'm going to be famous someday so I can take care of my mom forever." Her words carried a determination that made the woman believe every syllable. That's when Emma noticed the colorful flyer the woman had dropped. "America's Got Talent. Open auditions next week." The country's biggest talent show, with a grand prize of $1 million. As the woman walked away, Emma picked up the soggy paper, her eyes widening. $1 million. That was more money than she could ever earn singing on street corners. That was enough to save Mom. That night, in their cramped one-bedroom apartment, Emma found her mother passed out on the bathroom floor, pale and trembling. "Mom!" she cried, helping Katherine back to bed with a strength that shouldn't exist in such small arms. "I'm okay, my girl," Katherine whispered, though both knew it was a lie. The cancer was winning and time was running out. Emma pressed the talent show flyer against her chest. "Mom, I'm going to audition for this show, and I'm going to win. Then you'll have the best doctors in the whole world." Katherine's eyes filled with tears as she looked at her daughter. This brave child who carried the weight of the world on her shoulders. "Emma, sweetheart, you don't have to do this." "Yes, I do," Emma interrupted, her jaw set with fierce determination. "You always told me that music can heal anything. Now I'm going to prove it." That night, as Katherine slept restlessly beside her, Emma stared at the ceiling and made a promise. She would get on that stage. She would sing with everything in her heart. And somehow, some way, she would save the only person who had truly loved her. What she didn't know was that across the city, in a mansion, a man named Alexander Brooks, judge, producer, and millionaire, was having the same recurring nightmare he'd had for 7 years, a nightmare about a song, a broken promise, and a choice that haunted him every day. Tomorrow would change everything. Emma spent the next 3 days practicing in her tiny apartment, her voice growing stronger despite the chaos around her. Katherine's condition worsened daily, and the medical bills kept piling up like autumn leaves, threatening to bury them alive. "Sing it again, my girl," Catherine encouraged from the couch, wrapped in all the blankets they owned. Her face was gaunt, her cheekbones sharp against pale skin, but her eyes still shone when Emma performed. Cancer was stealing her strength, but it couldn't touch her love for her daughter. Emma strummed the guitar carefully, her small fingers finding the chords her mother had taught her years ago. The instrument was older than Emma herself, its wood worn smooth by countless hours of practice and performance. "You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are grey." The song had special meaning. It was the first lullaby Catherine had sung to Emma as a baby, passed down from her own mother. What neither of them knew was that the same melody had once filled a different home, sung by a different voice for the same precious child. "That's beautiful, sweetheart," Catherine whispered, coughing violently into a tissue that came away stained with blood. She tried to hide it, but Emma's sharp eyes caught everything. "Mom, you're getting worse," Emma said, leaving the guitar and running to her mother's side. "I'm okay, my girl, just a bad day." Catherine forced a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Tell me about your song choice. Why You Are My Sunshine." Emma curled up beside her mother, careful not to shake her too much. "Because it's true, Mom. You are my sunshine. When Dad left us, you could have been sad forever, but instead, you made everything bright. You taught me that music can chase away the darkness." Catherine's heart squeezed. Emma barely remembered her father. She was only 6 months old when Alexander Brooks walked out of their lives. Catherine had worked hard to protect her daughter from the pain of that abandonment, never speaking ill of the man who chose his career over his family. "Your dad loved you, Emma. Sometimes adults make mistakes they can't fix." "Then he was dumb," Emma declared with 7-year-old certainty. "Because you're the best thing in the whole world, and anyone who leaves you is just an idiot." On the morning of the audition, Emma counted her remaining money with the seriousness of an accountant. $443.16. She'd organized the bills by denomination, smoothing out each wrinkled dollar. Enough for the bus ticket to the audition center, but not enough for Catherine's next chemotherapy treatment. "Are you sure you want to do this, sweetheart?" Catherine asked, coughing violently. The sound was getting worse, more persistent. "It's a big city, and those judges can be cruel on TV." Emma nodded firmly, shouldering the guitar case almost as big as she was onto her back. "I have to do it, Mom. Dr. Peterson said you need that surgery soon, or..." She couldn't finish the sentence. The word death was too big, too final for her small vocabulary. As they prepared to leave their cramped apartment, their elderly neighbor, Mrs. Anderson, knocked on the door. She'd been watching Catherine deteriorate through their thin walls, listening to the coughing fits that lasted all night. "I heard about the audition," she said, pressing a worn $100 bill into Emma's palm. The money was warm from being clutched in her arthritic hands. "For luck, little songbird." Emma hugged the old woman tightly, breathing in her comforting scent of chamomile and kindness. "I'll pay you back when I win. I promise." "When you win," Mrs. Anderson repeated, believing every word. She'd heard Emma practicing, witnessed the raw talent pouring from their apartment like liquid gold. The audition center buzzed with hundreds of hopefuls, each carrying their own dreams and desperation. The building was enormous, modern, with glass walls reflecting Chicago's cloudy sky. Emma felt impossibly small among the adult contestants, many with professional equipment, makeup artists, and entourages of family members offering support. She gripped Catherine's hand tighter as they navigated through the crowd. Her mother had insisted on coming despite her weakness, leaning heavily on Emma's small shoulder for support. "Contestant 247, a busy production assistant called out, clipboard in hand and headset crackling with instructions. Emma looked at her paper bracelet. 247. Her heart hammered against her ribs like a caged bird as she walked toward the waiting area, guitar case dragging behind her on its worn wheels. "You can do this, my girl," Catherine whispered, kneeling down to Emma's level despite the pain it caused. "Remember what we practiced. Sing from your heart, not just from your throat." "What if they don't like me?" Emma asked, her confidence wavering now that the moment was real. "Then they're deaf," Catherine said firmly. "You have a gift, Emma, a gift that comes from something bigger than just talent. You sing with your soul. In the judging room, 3 figures sat behind an imposing curved table that seemed to belong in a courtroom. Emma recognized them from TV. Gabriela Martinez, the pop star known for her sharp critiques but hidden soft heart. Robert Williams, the veteran music producer who discovered some of the biggest names in American music. And Alexander Brooks, the youngest and richest of the 3, whose business empire stretched far beyond entertainment. Alexander Brooks adjusted his expensive Rolex, checking the time. He'd been judging for 6 hours straight, and most of the acts blended into a monotonous parade of mediocrity and desperation. But something felt different about this next audition. A strange uneasiness he couldn't explain, like the air before a storm. "What's the next act?" he asked the producer, rubbing his temples where a headache was forming. 7-year-old girl. Emma Johnson says she's singing to pay for her mother's medical treatment. Alexander's expression softened slightly. He'd heard similar stories before. The show attracted people at their lowest points, clutching at miracle solutions. But children always affected him differently. Deep in his chest, something stirred, a familiar ache he'd learned to ignore over the years. The production assistant led Emma through the heavy doors. The auditorium felt huge, the lights blindingly bright against her small frame. She blinked, trying to see the judges clearly through the glare. "Hello," Gabriela said warmly, immediately charmed by the small figure in the center of the stage. "What's your name, sweetheart?" "Emma Johnson," she replied, her voice stronger than her knees felt. She planted her feet firmly, remembering Catherine's advice about stage presence. "And why are you here today, Emma?" Robert asked, leaning forward with genuine interest. Emma took a deep breath, channeling her mother's strength. "My mom has cancer. She needs an operation that costs more money than we'll ever have. I sing on street corners every day after school, but it's not enough. If I win this, I can save her life." The 3 judges exchanged glances, each struck by the raw honesty in her words. They'd heard heartbreaking stories before, but something about this little girl's practical determination hit different. Alexander leaned forward, studying her face with growing unease. Something about her features bothered him. The shape of her green eyes, the way she tilted her head when concentrating, the stubborn chin. "What are you going to sing for us?" he asked, his voice gentler than usual. Emma gripped her guitar tighter, her knuckles white against the worn neck. "A song my mom taught me. It's about sunshine and hope and never giving up on the people you love." Emma positioned herself in the center of the stage, her guitar looking comically large in her small arms. The auditorium felt silent, except for the hum of camera equipment and the distant murmur of crew members. She could feel hundreds of eyes on her. Cameras, judges, production team, all waiting to see if this little girl could deliver on her big promises. She closed her eyes, thinking of her mother's pale face that morning, the worry in her eyes masked by forced smiles and encouraging words. When Emma opened her eyes again, they blazed with determination that seemed to burn from somewhere deeper than childhood should reach. "You are my sunshine, my only sunshine," she began. The first note cut through the air like silk, pure and overwhelming. Emma's voice carried a depth of emotion that shouldn't exist in someone so young. Pain, hope, love, and desperation, all woven together in perfect harmony. The guitar seemed to play itself in her small hands, each chord ringing clear and true. "You make me happy when skies are gray." In the judges' seats, Alexander Brooks's world tilted on its axis. The voice, the song, the way she closed her eyes when she reached the high notes, exactly like Catherine used to do. His hands began to tremble as memories crashed over him like a tsunami, washing away 7 years of carefully constructed denial. 7 years ago, a different life. A woman named Catherine, dark-haired and beautiful, singing this same song to their baby girl in a room painted sunny yellow. The same guitar, worn and beloved, passed down through generations. The same melody that had filled their home before everything fell apart, before his ambition became more important than love. "You'll never know, dear, how much I love you." Alexander's breath caught in his throat. The little girl on stage had Catherine's eyes, his own stubborn chin, his mother's delicate nose. The timeline matched perfectly. 7 years since he'd walked away from his family, choosing the promise of business success over the chaos of new parenthood. Please don't take my sunshine away. As Emma sang the final note, letting it float in the air like a prayer, the auditorium erupted in thunderous applause. Gabriella wiped tears from her eyes without shame. Robert nodded in approval, his professional composure cracking. But Alexander Brooks sat frozen, his world collapsing and rebuilding simultaneously. Emma looked directly at him during the applause, and for one heart-stopping moment, he saw Catherine's face reflected in his daughter's features. The same smile, the same head tilt, the same unconscious grace. His daughter, the baby he'd abandoned, the girl he'd convinced himself was better off without him. That was absolutely beautiful, Gabriella said, her voice thick with emotion. You have something special, sweetheart, something that can't be taught. Incredible talent, Robert agreed, still shaking his head in amazement. You have a gift, young lady, a real gift. All eyes turned to Alexander. Emma waited, her heart in her throat, everything depending on this moment. The silence stretched until it became uncomfortable. Alexander opened his mouth to speak, but no words came. How do you tell a child you abandoned that they're the most beautiful thing you've ever seen? How do you explain 7 years of absence in front of rolling cameras and millions of viewers? He began, then stopped. That song, where did you learn it? Emma smiled hopefully, encouraged by his interest. It's my favorite. My mom says her mom used to sing it to her, and she sang it to me when I was little. She says music can heal anything, even broken hearts. The irony cut deep as a razor between his ribs. His daughter was trying to heal her mother while unknowingly healing the father who had broken them both. We need to take a 5-minute break, Alexander announced suddenly, standing so abruptly that his chair scraped against the floor with a harsh screech that made everyone jump. Gabriella and Robert exchanged worried glances as Alexander left the stage without explanation, leaving Emma standing there confused and heartbroken. The little girl's face fell slightly. Had she done something wrong? Don't worry, sweetheart, Gabriella called out. Sometimes judges need a moment to process something really special. In the hallway, Alexander's assistant found him leaning against the wall, head in his hands, his expensive suit wrinkled from the trembling that had taken control of his body. Mr. Brooks, are you okay? Should I call a doctor? Get me everything on Emma Johnson, Alexander whispered, his voice broken. History, family, medical records, everything. I don't care what it costs or who you have to call. Mr. Brooks, I don't understand. Just do it. Now. 20 minutes later, Alexander stared at the file that confirmed his worst fears and greatest hopes. Emma Johnson, born 7 years and 3 months ago to Catherine Johnson, formerly Catherine Brooks. Medical records showing Catherine's ongoing battle with stage 3 cancer, diagnosed 18 months ago. Financial records showing their desperate poverty, a trail of unpaid bills and borrowed money. Catherine had taken back her maiden name after the divorce, apparently using her middle name now as her first. She'd never asked him for money, never tried to contact him, despite having full legal right to alimony. She just disappeared, taking their daughter with her and building a new life from the ashes of the old. And now his little girl was here trying to save the mother he'd failed to love enough to stay for. Alexander's phone buzzed. A message from his private investigator, someone he'd used for sensitive business matters. Per your urgent request. Catherine Johnson admitted to Northwestern Memorial Hospital 3 hours ago. Critical condition. Doctors say days, maybe hours. The world stopped spinning. Emma was here auditioning while her mother lay dying 5 miles away. Catherine was dying and probably had no idea that her daughter was standing on his stage singing their song, trying to save her life. When Alexander returned to the judging panel, his face was composed, but his eyes had a new intensity that Gabriella and Robert couldn't read. Emma, he said carefully, his voice controlled, tell me about your mother. Emma's face lit up like dawn. all worry forgotten. She's the best mum in the whole world. She taught me guitar when my fingers were so small I could barely hold the neck. She sings even when she's really sick, when the medicine makes her feel terrible. She used to be a singer too before I was born. She had dreams like mine. What's her name? Alexander asked, though he already knew the answer would destroy him. Katherine Johnson. But she told me her stage name used to be Catherine Brooks when she performed at the big venues. Gabriella and Robert didn't catch the significance, but Emma noticed how Judge Brooks's face went completely white, as if he'd seen a ghost. Catherine Brooks, he repeated slowly, testing the name on his tongue after years of trying to forget it. Did you know her? Emma asked hopefully, bouncing slightly on her toes. Alexander's throat closed completely. Catherine was pregnant when he left, just starting to show. He'd been so focused on his expanding business empire that he'd missed the beauty of what they were creating together. I knew her, he managed to say, each word feeling like glass. She was very talented. Emma glowed with pride. I want to be exactly like her when I grow up. Strong and brave and kind. She never complains, even when I know it hurts really bad. Alexander felt his heart break completely, each piece cutting deeper than the last. His daughter idolized the woman he'd abandoned, and Catherine had clearly raised her to be everything good in the world. The audition resumed, but the energy had changed dramatically. Emma could feel something different about Judge Brooks, the way he looked at her with an intensity that seemed to see through her, the careful way he chose his words. Emma, Gabriella said, looking uncertainly at her fellow judges. We've made our decision. Emma held her breath, her small hands clenched so tight her knuckles were white. Everything depended on this moment. Her mother's life, their future, her dreams of becoming someone who could fix everything. It's a yes from me, Gabriella announced with a warm smile. You have a gift that can't be taught and a heart that makes it shine. Yes from me too, Robert added enthusiastically. You sing with your whole heart, and that's something this world needs more of. All eyes turned to Alexander, the deciding vote, the final judgment, the man who unknowingly held his daughter's future in his trembling hands. Emma looked at him with so much hope, so much trust, so much pure faith in the goodness of the world, that Alexander felt the weight of 7 years of mistakes crushing over him like an avalanche. Emma, he said slowly, each word carefully measured, I need to ask you something. If you could have anything in the world, anything at all, what would it be? Without hesitation, without even needing to think, Emma answered, for my mum to get better. That's all I've ever wanted. Everything I pray for every night. I don't need toys or clothes or anything else. Just her. Alexander nodded, tears threatening to spill despite his efforts to maintain composure. And do you believe music can heal anything? Yes, Mr. Brooks. Mom always said it, and I've seen it work. When she's really sick and hurt, I sing to her, and for a little while, she smiles like she used to. Alexander stood, his decision crystallizing with the force of an earthquake. Then it's a yes from me too. You're going to the next round, Emma Johnson. Emma screamed with pure joy, jumping up and down, her guitar case forgotten as she celebrated. I have to call Mom. She's going to be so proud. Wait until I tell her. Judge Brooks said yes. But as the production team swirled around Emma with paperwork and congratulations, Alexander pulled the show's producer aside with urgent intensity. I need you to do something for me immediately, he said, his voice allowing no argument. Find out which hospital Catherine Johnson is in. Arrange for the best oncologist in Chicago, hell, in the country, to see her immediately. Money is no object. Do whatever it takes. Mr. Brooks, I don't understand. Why would you? Just do it, Alexander ordered, his executive persona taking over. And make sure Emma doesn't know it came from me, not yet. As Emma was led away to sign paperwork and meet producers, she turned and waved to the judges with unbridled joy. Thank you, Judge Brooks, she called out, her voice ringing with gratitude. You won't regret this. I'm going to make you proud. Alexander watched his daughter disappear through the doors, carrying the shared song and Catherine's strength in her small, determined frame. She was right. He wouldn't regret this, but he might not survive the revelation that was coming. For the first time in 7 years, Alexander Brooks allowed himself to hope and plan, because he had a family to save. And this time, he wouldn't walk away. Within an hour of Emma's audition, the best oncology team in Chicago was rushing to Catherine's bedside at Northwestern Memorial Hospital. Dr. Elizabeth Chen, one of the country's leading cancer specialists, had been brought in from MD Anderson in a private jet that cost more per hour than most people earned in a year. "I don't understand," Catherine whispered weakly to the nurse. "I can't pay for this. There must be some mistake." "No mistake, Mrs. Johnson," the nurse replied gently. "An anonymous benefactor has covered all your costs, complete treatment, surgery, everything." Catherine's eyes filled with tears. She was too weak to question miracles, too sick to investigate good fortune. All she could think about was Emma, probably riding the bus home from her audition, carrying the weight of the world on her 7-year-old shoulders. Meanwhile, Alexander Brooks sat in his car outside the hospital, watching through the tinted windows as the medical team rushed between buildings. His hands gripped the steering wheel until his knuckles went white. Catherine was somewhere in there, fighting for her life, and his daughter had no idea that her father was finally trying to make things right. His phone rang. His assistant's voice was efficient but concerned. "Mr. Brooks, the medical team is in place." "Doctor, Chen says the patient is very ill, but there's hope if they operate immediately. Do whatever it takes," Alexander repeated, his voice broken. "I don't care what it costs." "Mr. Brooks, may I ask why you're doing this? I've never seen you so involved in a charity case." Alexander closed his eyes, seeing Emma's face, hearing her voice singing their song. "Because some debts can never be repaid, but you have to try anyway." At home in their tiny apartment, Emma burst through the door with more energy than she'd had in months. "Mrs. Anderson, Mrs. Anderson," she called to her neighbor, who was waiting anxiously in the living room. "How did it go, little songbird?" "I made it," Emma announced, spinning with pure joy. "All 3 judges said yes. I'm going to the next round." Mrs. Anderson hugged her tight, feeling the little girl's heart racing with excitement. "I knew you would. Your voice is magic." "Where's Mom? I want to tell her." Emma looked around the empty apartment, confusion replacing her excitement. Mrs. Anderson's face grew serious. "Emma, sweetheart, your mom got very sick this afternoon. She's in the hospital, but the doctors are taking very good care of her." Emma's world tilted. She's going to be okay. The doctors say she's getting the best treatment money can buy. Someone very kind is helping her." Emma sank onto the couch, guitar still strapped to her back. "I should be with her. She's probably scared. The doctor said she needs to rest and get strong for her surgery tomorrow. But Emma, she'd want you to keep singing. This is what you've worked for." That night, Emma lay awake, staring at the ceiling, torn between excitement about the competition and terror about her mother. She whispered prayers to every saint she could remember, negotiating with God in the way only desperate children can. "Please let Mom be okay. I'll give up the competition. I'll do anything. Just don't take her from me." But even as she prayed, Emma knew she had to continue. The competition was their only hope for a real future, their only chance to escape from the poverty that had defined her entire life. 5 miles away, Alexander Brooks stood at his penthouse window, looking toward the hospital where Catherine fought for her life. For the first time in 7 years, he allowed himself to remember the good times. Catherine laughing at his terrible jokes, singing while she cooked, the way her eyes lit up when he told her they were going to have a baby. He'd thrown it all away for business that now seemed meaningless. Money that couldn't buy back time, success that felt empty without family to share it with. "I'm sorry," he whispered to the Chicago skyline. "I'm so sorry." The next morning brought news that changed everything. Catherine's surgery had been successful, but she remained in critical condition. The anonymous benefactor had arranged for her to have a private room, 24-hour nursing care, and access to experimental treatments that weren't available to regular patients. Emma sat by her mother's bedside, holding her pale hand and trying not to stare at all the machines keeping her alive. Catherine looked so small in the hospital bed, like she might disappear completely if Emma looked away. "The nurses say someone special is paying for all of this," Emma whispered. "An angel, they called it. Do you think it's real angels, Mum? Or just someone really good?" Catherine squeezed her daughter's hand weakly. "Sometimes," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "Angels look like regular people. They do good things without wanting credit. I wish I could thank them. I wish I could sing for them. Maybe someday you will sing, my girl. Maybe that's why you have your gift, to bring light to people who need it. If you've been through difficult times with someone you love, leave a heart in the comments. Let's create a chain of support for all families struggling together." Later that afternoon, Emma had to leave for the next round of the competition. The show's producers had offered to postpone her performance, but Emma refused. "Mom needs this medicine," she told them firmly, "and I made a promise that I'm going to win." The second audition was held at a smaller venue with only 50 remaining contestants. Emma felt her mother's absence like physical pain, but she channeled that pain into her performance. This time she sang "Somewhere Over the Rainbow," her voice soaring through the auditorium with a power that seemed impossible from someone so small. The judges were visibly moved, and Alexander Brooks found himself fighting back tears as he watched his daughter pour out her heart on stage. "Emma," Gabriella said after the performance, "where does that emotion come from? You sing like you've lived 100 lives." "I sing for my mom," Emma replied simply, "and for everyone who's been scared or alone. Music is supposed to help people feel better." When the results were announced, Emma had made it to the top 10 finalists. She was the youngest contestant to reach that level, and suddenly the media attention was overwhelming. "How does it feel to be so young and so talented?" a reporter asked. "It feels like responsibility," Emma answered with surprising maturity. "God gave me this voice for a reason, and I think it's to help people." Alexander watched the interview from his office, marveling at the wisdom in his daughter's words. Catherine had raised an extraordinary girl, kind, talented, and wise beyond her years. That evening, Alexander made a decision that terrified him. He called his private investigator. "I need you to arrange a meeting," he said. "I want to see Catherine Johnson tonight." "Mr. Brooks, she's in intensive care. Visiting hours are restricted to family only." "Then find a way. I don't care what it takes." 2 hours later, Alexander Brooks stood outside Catherine's hospital room, wearing medical scrubs and a visitor badge that identified him as a consulting physician. His hand trembled as he reached for the door handle. Catherine lay unconscious, hooked up to machines that beeped constantly in the quiet room. She looked older than her 32 years, worn down by illness and struggle. But she was still beautiful, still the woman he'd fallen in love with all those years ago. "Hi, Catherine," he whispered, pulling a chair to her bedside. "It's me. It's Alexander." Her eyes opened slowly, focusing gradually on his face. For a moment she looked confused, as if she might be hallucinating. "Alexander," she breathed. "What are you? How are you?" "I saw her," he said simply. "I saw Emma. She auditioned for the show." Catherine's eyes filled with tears. "She made it, didn't she? I could see it in her face when she visited me earlier." "She's incredible, Catherine. She's talented and kind and brave, exactly like her mother." "Why are you here?" Catherine asked, her voice stronger now. "After all these years, why now?" Alexander took her hand gently. "Because I was a fool. Because I threw away the best thing that ever happened to me. Because I want to try to make things right. It's too late for us, Alexander. Too much has happened. Maybe, but it's not too late for Emma. She's my daughter too, and I want to be the father she deserves." Catherine studied his face, searching for sincerity. "She doesn't know about you. I never told her who her father was. I know, and I understand why, but Catherine, I want to help. I want to be there for both of you." She's competing for us, Catherine whispered. She thinks winning that show is the only way to save me. Alexander's heart broke again. She shouldn't have to carry that burden alone. She's just a little girl. She's stronger than you know, stronger than both of us. They sat in silence for a moment, the weight of 7 lost years hanging between them. I'm the anonymous benefactor, Alexander finally admitted. The medical bills, the specialists, everything. I couldn't let you die, Catherine, not when I'd already lost so much time. Catherine closed her eyes, tears streaming down her cheeks. Thank you, she whispered, for saving my life, for giving me more time with her. It's the least I can do. But Catherine, I want to do more. I want to tell her the truth. Catherine's eyes opened suddenly. No, not yet. Let her finish the competition first. Let her have this moment. There will be time for truth later. Alexander nodded, understanding but not liking it. When you're ready then, when you think she's ready, promise me something, Catherine said urgently. Promise me that if something happens to me, you'll take care of her. Not just financially, but really take care of her. Love her like she deserves. I promise, Alexander said, meaning it with every fiber of his being. I won't fail her again. 2 weeks passed in a blur of rehearsals, interviews and mounting pressure. Emma had advanced to the 3 finalists, and the whole country was talking about the little girl with the big voice and even bigger heart. Catherine was recovering slowly but steadily thanks to the mysterious benefactor's continued support. She was strong enough now to attend Emma's final performances, though she still tired easily and needed help moving around. I can't believe how far you've come, Catherine told Emma as they sat in the hotel room provided by the show. From singing on street corners to America's biggest stage. It doesn't feel real, Emma admitted. Sometimes I think I'm going to wake up and we'll still be in our old apartment with bills piling up and no way to pay them. It's real, my girl. You made it real with your talent and your heart. The other 2 finalists were adults with years of professional experience, but Emma had something they didn't. A story that resonated with millions of people and a voice that seemed touched by something divine. In his judge's seat, Alexander watched his daughter prepare for the biggest moment in her young life. The final performance would determine the winner, and the stakes couldn't be higher. Not just for the $1 million prize, but for the validation of everything Emma had worked for. The theme for the finals was songs that changed your life. And Emma had chosen, unsurprisingly, You Are My Sunshine. It's the song that saved me, she explained to the cameras during her pre-performance interview. When my mum was sick and I was scared, I sang this song and remembered that there's always light, even in the darkest moments. Alexander felt his throat closing as he watched the interview. She was going to sing their song, the lullaby he'd sung to her as a baby, the melody that had brought them back together. That evening, as Emma prepared for her final performance, she received an unexpected visitor. Alexander Brooks knocked on her dressing room door, his heart pounding hard. "Judge Brooks!" Emma exclaimed, surprised and delighted. "What are you doing here?" "I wanted to wish you luck," he said, kneeling down to her level, "and tell you something important." "What?" Alexander looked into his daughter's eyes, Catherine's eyes, and felt the weight of the unspoken truth pressing on him. But he remembered his promise to Catherine. Not yet, not until she was ready. "I wanted to tell you that I've never heard anyone sing with as much heart as you," he said instead. "Whatever happens tonight, you've already won something more important than any prize." "What's that?" "You've reminded everyone what music is really about. Love, hope, and healing. That's a gift few people have." Emma hugged him impulsively, and Alexander felt his world shift. This was his daughter, this brave and beautiful little girl who had found her way back to him through a song. "Thank you, Judge Brooks. You've been so kind to me, kinder than any of the other judges. Maybe because I see something special in you," Alexander said, his voice thick with emotion. "Something that reminds me of someone I used to know." "Who?" Alexander smiled sadly. "Someone I should have held on to when I had the chance." As Emma walked onto the stage for her final performance, 3,000 people in the audience and millions watching at home held their breath. She looked so small under the bright lights, but when she opened her mouth to sing, her presence filled the entire auditorium. "You are my sunshine, my only sunshine." And in the front row, Katherine Johnson cried openly, overwhelmed with pride and love. In the judges' seats, Alexander Brooks gripped his chair, watching his daughter sing their song with everything she had. "You make me happy when skies are gray." The audience was completely silent, hanging on every note. This wasn't just a performance. It was a prayer, a plea, a declaration of love that transcended words. "You'll never know, dear, how much I love you." Alexander found himself mouthing the words along with her, remembering all the times he'd sung this song in a different time for a different audience of one. "Please don't take my sunshine away." When the final note faded, silence lasted 3 heartbeats before the auditorium exploded in the loudest applause of the season. The audience was standing, crying, clapping, completely overwhelmed by what they'd witnessed. Emma bowed politely, her eyes finding her mother in the front row. Katherine was sobbing with pride, and Emma felt a sense of completeness wash over her. Whatever happened, she'd given everything she had. In the judges' seats, Alexander Brooks stood and applauded with the rest, tears streaming down his face without shame. His daughter had just delivered the performance of a lifetime, and she had no idea her father was watching. "That," he said into his microphone when the applause finally died down, "was the most beautiful thing I've heard in my entire life." Emma beamed at him, and Alexander felt his heart break and heal simultaneously. Soon, very soon, he'd have to tell her the truth, but for now, he was just a judge, and she was just a contestant, and the moment was perfect in its painful beauty. The votes were counted, the results sealed, but before the winner could be announced, something unprecedented happened. Alexander Brooks stood up from the judges' table and asked for the microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said, his voice carrying through the silent auditorium, "before we announce our winner tonight, I need to share something with all of you, something I should have shared a long time ago." The audience murmured with confusion. The other judges looked shocked. Emma stood in the center of the stage, confused but trusting. "7 years ago," Alexander continued, his voice growing stronger, "I made the biggest mistake of my life. I was young, ambitious, and stupid. I had a beautiful wife and a baby daughter, but I thought my career was more important than my family." The cameras focused on his face, capturing every emotion as he spoke. "I walked away from them. I convinced myself they'd be better off without me. I was wrong about everything." Katherine Johnson felt her heart stop. In the front row, she stared at Alexander Brooks with growing recognition and disbelief. "Emma Johnson," Alexander said, looking directly at his daughter, "you are the most talented, brave, and beautiful person I've ever met. You're also my daughter." The auditorium exploded in gasps and confused murmuring. Emma froze, her mind struggling to process what she just heard. If you're holding your breath right now, imagine how Emma must have felt. This is the moment that would change everything forever. Like if your emotions are on edge. "I'm sorry, sweetheart. I know this is confusing and scary, but I'm your dad, and I've been looking for you and your mom for 7 years. Emma's eyes filled with tears. She looked toward her mother, who was now crying openly, nodding to confirm it was true. "My dad," Emma whispered into her microphone. "You're really my dad." Alexander walked down from the judges' table and toward the stage, his heart breaking with each step. "Yes, sweetheart. And I know I have no right to ask for your forgiveness, but I hope that maybe we can get to know each other. But you said yes at the audition. Did you know then?" "I suspected when I heard you sing. The song you chose. I used to sing that song to you when you were a baby. Every night I'd hold you and sing, 'You are my sunshine,' until you fell asleep." Emma started crying, overwhelmed by emotions she didn't understand. "Why did you leave us?" The question hung in the air like a knife. Alexander walked onto the stage and knelt in front of his daughter, not caring that millions of people were watching. "Because I was scared and selfish," he said honestly. "I thought being a dad would stop me from achieving my dreams. I didn't understand that you and your mum were the only dreams that really mattered." "Mum got really sick," Emma said through her tears, "and we didn't have money for doctors. I had to sing on the streets to try to help her." Alexander's heart broke completely. "I know, my girl, and I'm sorry I wasn't there to help you, but I'm here now, and I'm never going away again." Emma looked at him with her mother's eyes, searching for truth in his face. "Do you promise?" "I promise. And Emma, you need to know something else. The anonymous person who paid for your mum's medical treatment, that was me. The moment I realized who you were, I made sure she got the best possible care." Catherine had reached the stage, supported by a show assistant. She looked at Alexander with a mixture of anger, gratitude, and old love. "Catherine," Alexander said softly, using her real name for the first time in years. "I'm sorry for everything." "I know," she replied simply. "I can see it in your eyes." Emma looked between her parents, this father she'd never known and the mother who'd been her whole world. "Are we going to be a family now?" Alexander and Catherine exchanged a look over their daughter's head. 7 years of pain and anger couldn't be erased in a moment, but love, true love, never really dies. "We're going to try," Catherine said gently. "It won't be easy, and it won't happen overnight, but yes, we're going to try." The audience had been completely silent during this family reunion, but now they began to applaud softly, moved by the raw emotion they'd witnessed. "I think," said the show's host, stepping forward with tears in his eyes, "that we've already found our winner tonight. Emma Johnson, you came here to save your mother's life, and instead you reunited a family and reminded us all what really matters." Emma was officially declared the winner, but the $1 million prize seemed almost insignificant compared to what she'd really won. She had her mother's health, her father's love, and a family that was finally complete. As confetti fell from the ceiling and the audience applauded, Alexander Brooks held his daughter for the first time in 7 years. She was bigger now, stronger, more independent than the baby he remembered. But when she wrapped her little arms around his neck and whispered, "I love you, Dad," he knew that some things never change. Love finds a way. Music heals all wounds. And sometimes the greatest prize isn't money or fame, it's coming home. The days following the finale were a whirlwind of media attention, recording contract offers, and family gatherings that felt both natural and strange at the same time. Alexander had arranged the best suite at the best hotel in Chicago, where the three of them could begin the delicate process of becoming a family again. Emma adapted with the resilience only children possess, but she was still cautious around Alexander. 7 years of his absence couldn't be erased by a dramatic revelation, no matter how sincere his apologies. "Dad," she said one morning over room service breakfast, testing the word on her tongue, "why didn't you try to find us before?" Alexander set down his coffee cup, meeting his daughter's direct gaze. Catherine had taught her to ask difficult questions, and he owed her honest answers. "Because I was a coward," he said simply. "I told myself you'd be better off without me, but the truth is, I was afraid I wouldn't be a good enough dad. I was afraid of failing you." "But you did fail us," Emma said with 7-year-old frankness. "Mum cried sometimes when she thought I was asleep. And we were really poor." "You're absolutely right," Alexander replied, his throat tight. "I failed you, and I can never take that back. All I can do is try to be better from now on." Emma considered this seriously. "Mom says people deserve second chances if they really truly change. Do you think you've really changed?" Alexander looked at this wise little girl who had inherited Catherine's directness and his own stubborn determination. "I hope so, but you'll have to decide that for yourself." Catherine watched these interactions with mixed emotions. She was grateful for Alexander's honesty with Emma, but 7 years of single motherhood had made her fiercely protective. "We need to talk about practicalities," she said during one of their nighttime conversations after Emma had gone to bed. "School, living arrangements, custody. I want both of you to move into my house," Alexander said immediately. "It's big enough for everyone to have their own space, and Emma could have a real music room." Catherine shook her head. "We can't just pick up where we left off, Alexander. Too much has happened. Emma and I need our own place. Then I'll buy you a house nearby, whatever you want." "I don't want your money," Catherine said firmly. "Emma won $1 million. We can take care of ourselves." Alexander ran his hands through his hair in frustration. "Catherine, I'm trying to help. I'm trying to make up for lost time." "You can't buy back 7 years," she replied gently, "and you can't fix everything with money. Trust has to be earned." "Then tell me how. Tell me what I need to do." Catherine studied his face, seeing genuine desperation there. "Start slow, be consistent, show up when you say you're going to, keep your promises, and understand that this is going to take time." The following week, they established a routine. Alexander would pick Emma up from school 3 days a week, help with homework, and take her to singing lessons. Weekends were family time, sometimes all three together, sometimes just Alexander and Emma. "This is weird, but weird good," Emma confided to Mrs. Anderson during one of her visits to the old neighborhood. "It's like having a dad for the first time, even though he's always been my dad." "How do you feel about that little songbird?" Emma thought carefully. "Happy and sad and confused all at the same time. Happy because he's really nice and loves music like I do. Sad because we lost so much time, and confused because I don't know how to be someone's daughter when I've always just been all of Mom's family." Mrs. Anderson nodded wisely. "Growing families is like growing gardens. It takes time, patience, and a lot of care. But the beautiful things that grow are worth the wait." Meanwhile, Alexander was learning that being a parent was nothing like running a business empire. Emma didn't respond to commands or logical arguments. She needed patience, consistency, and emotional availability, things that didn't come naturally to him. "I don't know what I'm doing," he confessed to Catherine one evening. "When she cries, I want to fix it immediately, but sometimes she just needs to cry." Catherine smiled, the first truly warm smile she'd given him since his return. "Welcome to parenthood. The fact that you're trying so hard means you're already better than you think." "She's incredible, Catherine. You raised an incredible daughter." "We made an incredible daughter," Catherine corrected gently. "She has your determination and your musical sense. She gets that stubbornness from both of us. I want to be the father she deserves, then just love her. Everything else we can figure out together." The breakthrough came 3 weeks later during one of Alexander's regular visits. Emma was struggling with a particularly difficult song, getting frustrated when she couldn't hit the high notes correctly. "It's stupid," she declared, throwing her guitar pick across the room. "I can't do it." Instead of trying to fix the problem or offer solutions, Alexander sat down beside her on the piano bench. "You know what?" he said. "Sometimes music is frustrating. Sometimes it doesn't sound the way we want it to, no matter how hard we try. Did that happen to you when you were little?" "All the time. Once I got so mad at a piano piece that I slammed the keys and my teacher made me sit in the corner." Emma laughed despite her frustration. "Really? Really? And you know what my teacher told me?" "What?" "She said, music isn't about being perfect. It's about feeling something and sharing that feeling with other people. The notes matter, but the heart matters more." Emma leaned against his shoulder, a gesture of trust that meant everything to Alexander. "Will you sing with me, Dad? Like you used to when I was little?" Alexander's throat closed with emotion. "I'd love to, sweetheart." Together they sang, "You Are My Sunshine," their voices blending in harmony that seemed to heal years of separation. Catherine watched from the doorway, tears streaming down her face as her family finally started to sound like one. In that moment, Alexander understood what he'd lost 7 years ago and what he was lucky to find again. Not just a daughter, but a purpose. Not just success, but meaning. Music had brought them back together, but love would keep them that way. How many of you have had to rebuild a relationship that seemed lost? Share your experience in the comments. Your story might inspire someone going through the same thing now. 6 months after the finale, Emma Johnson Brooks stood on the steps of Lurie Children's Hospital in Chicago, holding a new guitar and wearing the biggest smile anyone had seen. Behind her stood her parents, together but taking it slow, and a crowd of reporters witnessing something extraordinary. "Today we're starting the Sunshine Foundation," Emma announced to the cameras with newfound confidence. "Every sick child in this hospital gets free music lessons, and their families won't pay a single dollar." The $1 million prize money combined with Alexander's contributions had made this dream possible. But for Emma, it was about more than money. It was about using her gift to heal others the way music had healed her family. "Music saved my mum's life and brought my dad home. Now it's going to help other families too." Catherine stood beside her daughter, healthy and radiant. After months of successful treatment, the cancer was in remission and her hair was growing back in soft curls. She held Alexander's hand, not romantically, but as partners raising their extraordinary daughter. "Are you proud of her?" a reporter asked Alexander. "Proud doesn't even begin to cover it," he replied, voice thick with emotion. "She taught me what it means to use success for something bigger than yourself." That evening, the Johnson Brooks family gathered in the music room of their new home. Not Alexander's mansion or their old apartment, but something in between. A place to build new memories while honoring their complicated past. "Play the song, Dad," Emma requested, settling onto the piano bench beside him. Alexander's fingers found the familiar chords, and together they began. "You are my sunshine, my only sunshine." Catherine joined in from her chair, her voice blending with theirs in perfect harmony. This time the song carried new meaning, not just about love or loss, but about second chances and forgiveness. "You make me happy when skies are gray." As they sang, Emma thought about the children she'd met at the hospital, children fighting bigger battles than hers, finding hope in music lessons and singing through pain. Tomorrow, she'd return to teach them because that's what her gift was really for. "You'll never know, dear, how much I love you." Alexander looked at his daughter and saw not just the baby he'd abandoned, but the remarkable young woman she was becoming. She'd transformed their family's worst tragedy into something beautiful. "Please don't take my sunshine away." When the song ended, they sat in comfortable silence, each lost in thoughts. "Dad," Emma said quietly, "do you ever wonder what would have happened if you hadn't left us?" Alexander considered carefully. "Sometimes. But maybe everything happened the way it was supposed to. Maybe you needed to be strong first, so you could help other people later. And maybe you needed to learn what really matters," Catherine added gently. "And you, Mum, do you forgive him?" Catherine looked at Alexander, seeing not the man who broke her heart, but the father who'd found his way home. "Forgiveness isn't something that happens once," she said. "It's something you choose every day. And yes, I choose to forgive him. Not because what he did is okay, but because holding on to anger was hurting all of us." "I don't deserve either of you," Alexander whispered. "No, you don't," Emma said with surprising frankness. "But that's not how love works. Love isn't about deserving. It's about choosing to see the good in people and helping them become better." "When did you get so wise?" "I learned from the best mum in the world, and now from a dad who's trying really hard to make up for lost time." Later that evening, after Emma had gone to bed, Alexander and Catherine sat on the porch swing, watching fireflies dance. "I have something to ask you," Alexander said nervously. "Would you consider dating me, like teenagers, taking it slow and seeing if we can fall in love again?" Catherine smiled genuinely for the first time since his return. "I'd like that, but no expensive gifts, no trying to impress me with money. Just be yourself. The real me is probably more boring than you remember." So good. Boring sounds perfect right now. Inside, Emma lay in her new bedroom, surrounded by awards and flowers from fans around the world. But she treasured most the framed photo on her nightstand. Her parents at the hospital, beaming with pride as she announced her foundation. She called Mrs. Anderson. "How was today, little songbird?" "Perfect. We helped 20 kids today and 20 more tomorrow. And Mrs. Anderson, my parents are going to try dating again. Ah, love finding its way back. It's not young love, it's old love getting a second chance. And I think second chances can be even better because now they know how precious it is." "What are you teaching them?" Emma thought carefully. "That music really can heal anything if you let it, and that families are about choosing to love each other every day, even when it's hard." As Emma drifted off to sleep, she could hear her parents conversing softly downstairs, their voices blending with the summer sounds of Chicago. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new opportunities to use her gift for good. But tonight, for the first time in her 7 years, Emma Johnson Brooks fell asleep, knowing her sunshine was safe, her mother was healthy, her father was home, and her family was finally complete. The song that brought them together would play in their hearts forever, a melody of love, loss, forgiveness, and the truth that broken things can be made stronger when they're mended with hope. Emma had been right from the beginning. Music really could heal anything. And sometimes the greatest performances don't happen on stage, but in quiet moments when a family chooses love over pain, forgiveness over anger, and hope over fear. The end. Did this story touch your heart like it touched mine? Then I have a special request for you. If you believe it's never too late to fix our mistakes, if you believe in the power of forgiveness and second chances, please click that like button right now. Every like helps this message of hope reach someone who needs to hear that past mistakes don't define our future. And you know what would be even more amazing? If you shared this story with that special person in your life. It could be a father, a mother, a child, a friend who needs to believe in new beginnings. Maybe it's someone you need to reconnect with. This story could be the bridge they need. Tell me now in the comments, which part of this story moved you the most? Was it when Emma sang for the first time? When Alexander discovered the truth? Or when the family finally reunited? I want to read every story in the comments because I know many of you have your own journeys of forgiveness and reconciliation to share. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, this is the perfect moment. Click that red subscribe button and turn on notifications because every week I bring real and inspiring stories like this that will touch your soul and remind you what really matters in life. Stories about love, overcoming, second chances, and the transformative power of human kindness. Did you know that only 3% of people who watch actually subscribe? Be one of those 3% who choose to be part of this incredible community of people who believe in good, in hope, and in the power of stories to change lives. Before you go, I want to leave you with a reflection. If you could go back in time and fix one mistake from the past, what would it be? Not to change what happened, but to heal what was broken. Sometimes, as Alexander discovered, we can't go back, but we can start over today. It's never too late to reach out, ask for forgiveness, or simply say, "I love you." If this story inspired you to reconnect with someone, comment "New Beginning" below. Let's create a wave of second chances together. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being here, for watching until the end, and for being part of this journey with me. You're not just a viewer, you're part of this family that believes stories can change the world, one person at a time. See you in the next story. Until then, be someone's sunshine today. You never know who needs light. With love and gratitude, a big hug, and may music always find you in the most difficult moments.